Within BIM360, we can create RFIs at a project level or on a 2D document and also on a 3D document. To create at project level, simply select the Module selector, then choose Project Management. From within the RFI tab, we can use the Create RFI button. This will then allow us to create an RFI and submit it to our manager for approval. Here we can add in the RFI title. From the Assign To drop-down, the external examiner is automatically populated based upon the RFI workflow setup within this project. We can also add in any co-reviewers, a due date, and then we can specify the question and a suggested answer. We can also link in any attachments from our BIM360 project or upload from our PC. We can then link in reference documents, add in any cost or schedule impacts, and then add in any priority, discipline and category. We can then use the Create button to create the RFI. In this example tutorial, I'm going to create it based upon a 2D document. Selecting the Module selector again, I can choose Document Management. From within my Work in Progress environment, I'm going to open up my Revit project. Here I can raise the RFI based upon a 3D view or also select an existing 2D sheet that's published. From within this area, I'm going to raise an RFI based upon the sink type within the public restroom. Selecting the RFI tab on the navigation panel, I can choose the Create RFI button. I can then specify based upon a pin location, the location of the RFI in this document. Here I'm going to select a position in the middle of the sink, and now I can begin the process of creating the RFI as I would if I was creating a project level RFI as shown previously. Here I can add in the RFI title. Under the Assign To drop-down, I can then assign this to the external examiner. I can add in any co-reviewers, choose a due date. I can then add the question regarding the RFI. Based on this RFI, I'm asking a question whether the sink specification type can be changed from a wall-mounted to a floor-mounted. I can also add in a suggested answer, link to any attachments, and then add a location reference. I can then specify any impact or other attribute priorities that I need to define. I can then also choose extra distribution lists for other project members that need to be aware of this RFI. In this instance, I'm just going to create the RFI and submit it to my manager. Selecting the Create button to complete the process and submit the RFI to the external examiner. Logging into BIM360 as the teaching assistant, I can now see a submitted RFI. Opening this through the dialog, I can then submit this once reviewed to the reviewer. Here I can check all the details, any attachments and all the activity based upon the RFI if required. Once I'm happy that this is a valid RFI, I can then submit it to the reviewer. Selecting the Submit to Reviewer button will then allow me to select the reviewer from the drop-down. In this instance, it's going to be the module leader. I can also specify an RFI number, choose any co-reviewers and specify a due date for the reviewer to review this RFI. At this stage, I can also involve any further project members in the distribution list before submitting. Once I'm happy I've filled out the correct information, I can now choose the Submit button to submit this. Selecting the Submit button will then submit this to the reviewer. Logging into BIM360 as the module leader and reviewer in this case, I can now open up the RFI ID form. From within this dialog, I can review the question, add a suggested answer, and then finally submit an official response. Once reviewing all the details, any attachments and the activity within the RFI, I can now provide an official response. Selecting Submit Official Response, we can now respond to the RFI officially. Here I'm confirming that it's okay to change the sink type to floor mounted. Once we select the Submitted button, this will now submit the response to the RFI back to the manager. Selecting Submit to complete the process. Logging back into BIM360 as the teaching assistant and manager in this instance, I can now open up the answered RFI. Here I have the option that I can close and distribute this RFI based upon the response. You can see the official response is highlighted that it is now okay to change the sink type to floor mounted. I can now complete the RFI by selecting Close and Distribute. I can now update the distribution list to include any project members that I need to know about this RFI. I can then add in a comment if required and then close the RFI to complete the process. We have now went through the complete process from creating, managing and distributing and closing the RFI. We can also create and manage RFIs using mobile applications. Logging into your BIM360 project, you will see the RFI button located on the bottom menu bar. Selecting this will then allow us to use the plus sign to create a new RFI. Here we can add in all the information required for the RFI. By selecting into the title field, we can now type in, using the keypad, the title for the RFI. Using the question field, we can then add in the question regarding this RFI that we are raising on the mobile application. In this instance, I'm asking what the floor specification is. We can then choose the Assign To, which will allow us to add the teaching assistant, add any location details, due date and any other information regarding this RFI. Once created, we can now manage and update the status of this RFI using the mobile application.